there are those competing philosophies. You got 80 grand. What do you do? You start a small business. You take that and put as down payment for an SBA loan, and you buy a car wash or a laundromat or a
Yeah.
dry cleaning business or an HVAC business, or do you buy a
Welcome to the Stephen Lee Thomas Show, where we provide expert advice for real estate entrepreneurs. And I'm your host, Stephen Lee Thomas. And it wasn't that long ago that I was navigating the challenges of real estate investing, learning from my mistakes, and building the business I have today. I created this show to give you simple, actionable, step-by-step strategies to help you do the same. Each week, we bring you in-depth discussions with industry leaders and professionals who share their knowledge and practical tips. So sit back, take notes, and let's dive into today's episode. Hey, everybody, welcome back. I am excited. Today, we have Anthony Bishop with us. Now, Anthony is someone who I've known for quite a while. And the reason why I brought Anthony here today is because he's someone who I've always looked up to, who has successfully left the full-time day job world and just took an all or nothing approach and went into real estate full-time. And Anthony, you've been investing in, or you've been a real estate in the real estate space for 14 years, full-time for 11 years. And then in the last, what has it been, like 18 months or so, maybe a year, you started doing flipping of houses. So you've been in
yes?
the real estate single family space area, and then you've been able to transition now even more into the flipping area. And in that time, Anthony, in the last 14 years, you've done 220 transactions. And the best year you had, which I know was not too long ago, you had about $10.5 million in volume in single family homes. That's insane. You must have learned a thing or two along the way. So Anthony, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm excited to have you.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you got started?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you for inviting me on to your show, and I'm excited to share what I can. There are other real estate agents you could have you could have invited onto your show that have much more higher or much higher production than I do. So I'm honored that you kind of give me an opportunity to tell my story a little bit.
$10 million
And you and I are
is
friends.
is a pretty amazing feat. But it didn't happen overnight, right?
Sure,
It was not
sure,
your first year, right? It was probably not your
correct,
second year. It took
correct.
some work to get there, right? So
Yeah.
what was that? Tell us what that was like to get there. Um,
Okay. Like in the beginning.
let's go back to the beginning. And so, Anthony, we've known each other for a long time, and you and I, we could have these, long stories, but here's how I want to start this conversation. And I
Hmm.
remember years ago, it was when you had first moved in with Crystal. You guys have been living together for a while, and I remember
Yeah.
visiting you guys, and
Yeah.
you at that point you had quit your day job, and you were
Okay.
all in on real estate, and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
were so focused and determined on hitting your goal. I remember I think you had a dry erase board, and I think you had your goals on there, and you had like your leads. It was, but I was so impressed. Listen, to the point where you even had on the TV, I think there was like a sticky note that was like, we only watch TV on Saturdays. You were laser focused, bro. But and then there's something you shared with me about burning your ships.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you went all in, right? You didn't have kids at the time. Your
Correct.
bills were not real high, but you still made that decision. So walk us through that moment in your life and how that's really set the stage for everything else where you're at right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I got my real estate license in 2010, so about 14 years ago. And the first 3 years, I was a part-time realtor, right? So I would work my day job, and then on the weekends and the evenings, I would do open houses and I would follow up with the clients that I'd met. And I was getting a little traction. I would sell a house here and there, but it wasn't really until I went full time that I knew, like, okay, this is the only way to really do this if you really want to make a career out of it, because you could supplement your income. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? doing part-time. But if you want to make a career out of it, you've got to go all in. So so what happened was it was about a 6 month period of time right before I went full time, where I closed 3 transactions. Right, I was working my job, but I closed 3 transactions as a commissioned realtor, and I saved all the money. And my wife at the time, Crystal, still my wife, she had a full time job. So that was like a lot of security. So I had like, it was like 10 grand, back then,
Mhm.
bro. Yeah. I mean, back then, the average closing was like 35 to 4,500 bucks in commission. That's like before you're split with your broker. Times have
Wow.
changed, right?
Okay.
So I closed 3, saved them all. It was like 10, 11 grand. So I had 10, 11 grand in cash, right? Which is like, ooh, I got good money. This is, 13 or 11 years ago. And then, and Crystal was working full time. So I said, now's the time. But she was pregnant with Lena, right?
With your
Uh,
first, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it was a lot of fear, bro. Looking back on it now, I was confident I'd be successful, but I wasn't sure. You know what I mean? Um,
How much? Okay,
because
so fear is an interesting. I hang out in this space a lot. You have fear and you have excitement, and I think
yeah,
physically they feel very similar. So how much fear did you have versus how much excitement did you have?
more fear for sure.
More fear. Fear was the dominant voice. It was
Oh
on
yeah.
this shoulder. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, 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 bro. And you asked specifically about burning your ships. Now, this
Yes.
is not original, right? This is not original. I didn't come up with this. This burning your
It's
ships
different than burning
analogy.
your bridges. This is not burning your bridges. So
This
anybody
is
listening,
not
we're
burning your
we're
bridges.
not talking about
No,
burning bridges. We're not talking about pissing people off. We're talking about burning
exactly.
ships. It's different. But I love the analogy and I think about it all the time.
Okay, very good. So it goes back to a story in ancient Greece, right? Where the Greeks were going to do battle with some other culture. I can't remember which. And their odds were so so. They were somewhat intimidated by the other culture, right? So they embarked off of their boats onto the beach, right? And they're getting ready to do battle with this other culture. And all their commanders said, take a look at those boats you just got off of because we're going to burn them right now. We're going to burn those ships. And the only way you get back home to see your family is if you win this battle, harvest some lumber, build more ships, and we go back home. I could only imagine the fervor that
Yeah.
produced within the army. You know what I mean?
Yeah, honestly,
Um,
just listening to you, I can feel I'm like, oh shit, like this is real, right? That's
yeah,
pretty
dude.
committed at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, we're gonna we're gonna perish or we're gonna win. That's it. And it basically like you have to put yourself in this mindset of there is no other option. There's no other option, right? It's not like if this doesn't, and you and I have talked about this, bro, but it's different now because back then, gosh, I was 30. You know what I mean? Like I was making like 30 grand a year at my job. So it was it would be harder now. Like let's say for example, I was salaried now at 120 grand or something. That'd be hard, bro. My kids are 10 and 8. That'd be
Mhm.
hard, you know. But making 30 grand, being 30 years old, no kids yet, like making that jump, I would say would be easier. I think for your audience,
Mhm.
that is something I would like to preface that if you're already established, 10, 12, 15 years into your career, you've already got a mortgage. We were living in our starter home. Now we're in our move up home. You know what I mean? We didn't have any kids. Um, if if you're already in your move up home, if you've already got kids that are getting ready to go into junior high, um, I don't know what my advice would be, because that's tough to like. That's tough to burn your shit. It's one thing to burn like some rickety naval vessel that just carried you across the ocean. It's another thing to burn a yacht. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna go back to what you were starting out with and how you at least enough level of comfort. What you did is you analyzed your situation. You said,
Yeah.
I know where I'm at. I know what my expenses are. I've
Yeah.
had some success. I've got a little bit of a track
Yeah.
record here, but
Yeah.
I'm living in two worlds. I'm not really all in on either one at this point, but I got a little bit of a proven track record here, and I have
Sure.
some money in savings. I know, so so I know I can go this long, and if I can kind of follow the same pattern,
Right.
start getting more money in, right? So it was not, to your point, you weren't just like, let me just burn them all, let me just burn them to the ground, and I'll just figure this thing out. You had been doing it for a while. You've been practicing.
Yes.
So you were not blindly going into it. You've been practicing and you were in a spot where you knew you were going to have to take a couple steps back. But at the end of the day,
Yes.
it was going to be able to accelerate you and move you forward, but you knew you had to put in the work to get there.
100%, bro. Gosh, man. Like, okay, so going back to October of 13, right? October 1st, 2013 was when I left my job. And so not quite 11 years, about 10 and a half. Is when I left. I kind of like let go of the security, right?
Uh-huh.
And I just kind of had to see if I could fly, right? This is the crazy part. So I had about 10 grand. My wife was working full time. She's pregnant with our first. I go full time October 1st. I don't close my first deal. I don't get a paycheck until like mid late February. You know what I
What's
mean?
it? Almost like 6 months, right? October, November,
Yeah,
December. About
5
5 months.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 4.5, 5. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, bro, all through the fall, like real estate transactions historically, like they're just quiet. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
There's in single family residential. So like, but what I was doing open houses every weekend. I was reaching out to everyone I knew. I was working. Like, okay, so October 1st, I go full time. I don't have any business. I don't. I've got to go create it. So what do? I
Like
get up at
it's
six
not like
thirty.
you had things in the pipeline.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I get up, I shower, I get dressed, I eat breakfast. I'm out of the house by 8 o'clock, and I'm beating the bushes. I'm previewing
So
homes.
so I think there's another key thing. So it's not like you quit and then waited for things to happen. You quit and then you worked and you worked and you worked and you showed up and you kept doing those actions that you knew you needed to do
Yes,
until it happened. And then but you had already built those habits. You weren't like, cool,
yeah,
man, like I get to sleep in today. You're like, nope,
right. No,
I'm gonna get up
sir.
and make this happen.
No, sir. And I've had agents tell me that. I've had new agents come to the office, and they're like a month in, they're brand new, and I'm like, let's say this is 5 years ago, so I'm like, a veteran agent at the time, and I say, how do you like being a realtor so far? And they say something along the lines of, oh, the hours are great. I get up at 8:30, I lay around in bed for a while, I get on my phone, I shower at 10, I'm out of the house by noon, and I'm thinking this fool's not gonna make it. Nope, 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 nope. Bro,
Yeah.
I was at the office at like 7:30, 8 o'clock on the weekends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I love to read and learn about people who are successful. And I get to meet a lot of people who are successful, and every single one of them will tell you that it's hard work. Like it is not, nobody's an overnight success. It's the people who get
No.
up and they put in the extra hours. It's a lot of it is like kind of outworking other people, right? It's yeah, like it's
Yeah.
outworking the competition.
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant's a great example of that. If you listen to like any of his inspirational things, he's like, if you're the one who shows up to the court first and the one who leaves last, like you have put in more effort and
Yeah.
practice than anybody else.
Yes. Yes.
That's it.
That that
So for
yeah.
anybody listening, um, the success is in the amount of work you put into it. There's nobody out there who gets up at 8:30, lays in bed for a while, maybe goes for a morning walk and starts working at noon, who is going to be incredibly successful. It's
Yeah.
not going to happen. You've got to put in the time. You've got to build the habits and the practices.
You could get to the point where that's your life, but like not in the beginning. No.
Right.
No,
Right.
no, 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 no.
You got to earn it. So Anthony, you I know that at some point you got a mentor. So um early years, you you calculated your movement into going full time, and then you spent 5 months getting up every day. And Anthony, I know it was not, it probably was almost every single day, because the weekends, those are like busy times for you. Those are when other people are
Yeah,
available to go see houses. So you gave up a
exactly.
lot of your time. You worked a lot to get
Yes.
there. But at some point, I know that you started working with a mentor.
Yes. You
So
mean like my business coach?
yeah, your business coach, your business coach.
Okay.
So
Yeah, yeah.
so tell us about that. So what drove you to that decision, and then what was that experience like? How has it impacted you?
Oh, okay. So I went to a real estate sales conference. And I go to them frequently. I try to go to one or two a year. And one of them um had, proposed that they offer coaching and things like that. Um, and I just felt it was right. Like I had actually taken a training for this particular seminar. They had online trainings. And after my first day in the training, I was like, man, these guys, this is really what works for me because I'd taken other trainings before. So then I went to one of their seminars, live seminars, and I was like, oh man, these guys are great. So I signed up for their coaching, and I did business coaching for probably about 6 years. And man, it was awesome. But you know what, Stephen? There's like a different direction I want to go with that. Um, Mentors, you don't have to know your mentors. This
It's
is this is
very
like
true. Yeah.
this is like to me, this is when I first heard this, it was super illuminating.
Let's use Robert Kiyosaki as
Uh,
an example. Is that fair? Is that a good
100%,
okay.
100%, bro, 100%. Rich Dad Poor Dad, a lot of his teachings, bro. There are certain people that are passed away. Like I'm into like motivational guys, like people that most people like our age don't know who they are. Like I like a guy named Earl Nightingale. He's old school. He was like World War II veteran, right?
Mhm.
But in the '60s, he became like late '50s, early '60s, he became like a motivational guy. And then there's Jim Rohn. Love Jim Rohn. I listen. I have this 8 hour. It's on Audible. I have this 8 hour. Yes, it's an audiobook of like a collection of Jim Rohn's teachings. It's 8 hours long. I probably listen to it twice a year. I love it. Like I could almost have a conversation with Jim Rohn.
That's
You know what
awesome.
I mean?
Uh-huh.
Because like I've listened to his material so much, I kind of know what the guy's gonna say. You know what I mean? Um, so those guys are my mentors. And then like in contemporary times, I love Brian Buffini, man. Like if you're a real estate sales guy, I love Brian Buffini. Like he's my dude. Like he's got a podcast about 450 episodes. I've listened to every single one of them,
Wow.
everyone, and half of them I probably listened to twice. You know what I mean? Or even more than twice.
All right. So the
So
key
like,
takeaway there is you're finding people who are successful, who are willing to share knowledge, and
yeah,
what you're deciding to listen to and put into your brain are those their success stories are sharing with you to help you frame your worldview.
yes, bro, and it is critical. This is the most important so far. I don't know exactly where this conversation is going to go, but up until this point, this is the most important thing we've talked about. And you could probably say the same thing. People that have, and I'm not like a millionaire or anything, right? But we're doing okay. Um, but like, but like for people that have come from modest means, there's really only one way to like jump levels beyond your parents, where you came from. And that's changing your mindset. And how do you do that? You spend time with people that already have the mindset you want. Now, what if you say, hey, I live in some tiny town in West Texas and no one's around? I get it. Get on Audible, get on YouTube. It's free.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Tune into those guys, to get into podcasts. Tune into those guys every day, and your mindset will change. You don't have to be in the same room with them. You don't have to be on a Zoom call with them. Tune into Stephen Lee Thomas's webcast. You know what I mean? To get the right mindset. Listen to it over and over and over again.
Yeah. So
This is the most
I'm gonna give
important thing.
a life hack here. Um, I one of my mentors, one of my business coaches, um, we were going through my routine, right? Hey, what are you doing for your routine? Because routine is huge too. And so what you're saying, Anthony, that's part of your routine, right? So at some other time we'll get together, we'll have another conversation just all on routine. But part of your routine is to make the time to listen to that. So
100%.
so here's a life hack, because another part of the routine should be exercise, whether that's a walk or something, anything, it's good for your health. But what
Yeah.
I was big on is listening to music while I was exercising. But then I was given the advice, why don't you use Audible and listen to those books while you're exercising? At first, I'm like, no, man, like I want my energy where it is. But actually, what I found was it's almost like a Zen meditative state for me when I'm exercising and listening to those types of audible books, those books. Ed Milet is another one. Brendon
Yeah.
Burchard is another one.
Yeah. I know those
And those
names
are,
too.
hours and hours of information that you can listen to while you're exercising. Like your dopamine levels are high, you're feeling good. So you're exercising, getting the benefits from that. You're feeding your brain at the same time. That for me is a life hack that I absolutely love and is part of
Yeah.
my daily routine.
That's good stuff, bro. Knocking them out two at a time. See, as as a residential realtor, we spend a lot of time in the car. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yeah.
Like most people, they drive to their office and the car sits there all day. I got to change my I've had to change my battery on my car like really frequently. And I was talking to the mechanic. I was like, why do you change my battery so much? He was like, what do you do for work? And I was like, I'm a real estate agent. He was like, how many times you start your car? Because what I didn't realize, I kind of realized it is that's mainly what your battery's for, starting your
Starting the
car,
car. Yeah.
right? And once it's going, the alternator takes over and runs all the electricity. But I start my car 15 times a day, 20 times a day. Most people aren't starting their car that much. You know what I mean? So my
Only
battery gets worn
only
down
the
that much,
mailman, the FedEx
right?
guy, right? That's the the Amazon
Right?
truck. Like those people are, yeah, they probably go through batteries a lot too, and starters a lot. But
Yeah.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
no.
but I'm in my car a lot, so I tune into a lot of these guys. I'm on my way to my appointments. On my hey, like yesterday, you texted me like I gotta go install this CO2 detector or CO detector. I'm always doing stuff like that, right? I'm always moving around the city. So gosh, I might spend five like on average 4 or 5 hours in the car every day, on average. You know,
So you're taking
so
advantage of that time to
yeah,
learn and feed your brain positive information.
yeah, maybe not
I
four or
love
five
it.
hours. Like, bro, and it's funny like how my business has changed, right? Like a lot of stuff since I started, bro. When I started, there was no digital signatures. Maybe there were, but they weren't prevalent in our industry. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? So like we were driving to get contracts signed all the time. Now it's digital signature. Things have changed. You know what I mean? Um, I still like doing
Good.
in-face signings, wet signings, but yeah. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Doesn't
Don't want to get off
happen
track.
doesn't happen nearly as often.
No, no, no.
Hey, I wanna move a little bit more present time.
Yes.
You started doing real estate investing. You're fixing and flipping houses now. And I want to spend a little bit of time there. Can you tell us first how you got into that? And then I have a follow-up question. Like, what has your journey been like that got to that point? Because you successfully went into real estate, you've been doing that single family homes, and at some point you thought, you know what? Maybe I can start doing some investing. I'm pretty familiar with the space. I'm gonna start doing some investing. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Okay. So I was inspired by someone and I was encouraged by someone, right? So there's a guy in my office that man, like he's a really savvy real estate investor, right? And he he sells homes like for his clients, buyers and sellers. Like he'll go show homes, he'll list property, but every once in a while he'll like buy something himself and keep it as a rental, or he'll buy it, fix it up, and flip it. And he's got this beautiful balance of like because you could really burn yourself out in just sales,
Hmm.
right? And especially as my kids are getting older and my time is becoming more important, sales, like helping people buy and sell their homes, is really time intensive, right? And real estate investing can be too. But it's this, I watched him and he has this really nice balance of like sell a few, buy a few, flip a few, you know. And I was like, man. And he like lives a good life. You look at his Instagram, he's like partying, you know, he's going traveling. He's got kids and a wife, but he's like, you know, it's not so it from what I see and from what I talk to him about, it doesn't seem as stressful, right? Because he's got
Hmm.
this balance. So I was like, man, I want some of that, you know, like work with my favorite clients, buying and selling stuff, and then me get into investing and flipping too. And another person told me, someone I really respect, she said, she's older than me. She said, Anthony, you can make a really good living helping people buy and sell property. You can make a really good living, but you're not going to get rich doing that. You want to get rich, you got to own property.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. You want to get rich, you got to own property. You can make a really good living. Take your kids to Disneyland, live in a nice house, buying and helping people buy and sell real estate. Like you could do that. But if you want to get rich, you got to own it yourself. And so I said there was a guy that inspired me, and a guy that encouraged me. Now, the guy that encouraged me was my business partner, my current business partner, the guy that I'm doing my flips with. He encouraged me because he was like, Anthony, you have a skill set. Like you understand real estate, you understand escrow, you understand ARV, you understand repair costs, you understand the neighborhoods of the city. He was like, you have a skill set that you could put to use to flip property and invest in property. He was like, you use that skill set all the time on your clients. He said, now that you got the contractors, and it's true. I remember my first flip, I just called all the contractors that I call for my clients, and they all gave me discounts. I wasn't even expecting it. And I was like, because I would tell them, I said, hey, this one's for me. I'm buying this,
Uh-huh.
and I
Uh-huh.
need a bid on the flooring. And the guy was like, oh, this is for you? Oh, okay, well then yeah, we're gonna do it for a little bit less. And I was like, why? He was like, because you've been giving me business for the last decade, bro. I'm like, oh, okay.
That's awesome.
You know, so the guy that encouraged me is my business partner. He's like, dude, you've got this vendor list, you've got this knowledge base, you've got this skill set. Use it for you, not just your clients. Oh yeah. And then not only did he encourage me, he said, I'll buy in, you know, I'll contribute financially and we can share in the profits. And
That's
it's been a
awesome.
good partnership. Yeah.
That's awesome. So you said something to me the other day, Anthony, was that everything we need is right underneath our noses.
Yeah.
And it sounds like everything you needed, everything you've been working on, it was there. It just looking at it from a little bit different perspective and realizing that you
100%.
have resources available to you. So I think that's another important thing for anybody listening is and we've talked about the the mindset piece and don't go blindly into it, but get yourself ready. But the reality of it is you probably have a lot more resources available to you and skill sets that you have that you might not be thinking about you can use, but dig into that because that's an
Yeah.
available resource for you.
Use in another way, but like not in a completely different way, like a different lane, same freeway. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So you've been doing this for a while. You've got a lot of things you've learned, and you've done a few of these flips, and I think they've gone pretty successful. A word of advice, like what do you think if someone was to get into this quickly? What do you think most people do wrong when they get into real estate investing in the space that you're in, that you're familiar with?
Well, okay, so this is a tough question for me because I've only successfully completed 3 flips, right? So I'm a novice in like the flipping, and I've only got one rental property, right? So
But
me
you've
and Crystal, we
seen,
have
but
our
you've seen agents come in, right? And we're talking single
yes,
family home. You've seen people come in. You probably have also seen people come into the space and then maybe disappear. I'm gonna
yes, yes. I still have an opinion on it, but in case anyone's watching this, like
we'll put the
knows,
footnote in there, the asterisk. This is just an opinion.
yeah, yeah, this isn't like experiential,
Not
right?
gospel. Yeah,
Right. Like this isn't because of my personal experience. This is just my observations and my opinion. Having been, I've helped investors. I mean, and not only that, I used to work in property management, right? Like that was one of my full time gigs before I went full time in real estate. I was working in property, so I was around people that owned 50 properties, 20 properties. 100 properties. I was around these people. I was managing their property for them, right? Under a company, under a bigger company. So I do have an opinion. And that opinion is this is big too, in my opinion. um, Investors don't get discouraged, right? Like bigger is not always better. I was at a real estate talk about a month ago where this guy said, I had 100 doors, duplexes, fourplexes, just regular single family detached homes. He said, I had 100 doors and I sold them all. I got rid of them. I offloaded the portfolio. And then after his talk, someone asked, why'd you do that? You had 110 units. Like you had made it. You're king of the hill. That's a lot. Kiyosaki's got like 6,000 units. That's a whole different thing,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Your regular Joe, you don't know his name is 110 units. That's a lot, right? But and this guy said, he said, to be honest, I wasn't planning on talking about that. I wasn't making any money. Wow. He was like totally an ego play. Having 110 units was an ego play. He said it felt good to say, it felt good to stand up in front of a group and say, I have 110 units. It wasn't me. He said I wasn't making any money. He said I had to sell them.
Wow.
Wow. So bigger is not always better, man. Bigger, like let's say you're 55 years old. You've got 2 duplexes and 8 single family detached homes. I'd say you won, dude. You know what I mean? I would say like, that you've got good tenants, you maintain them well, um, or more so in your space. You're an apartment guy. I'm a single family guy. Let's say you're 55 years old and you own a 26 unit apartment complex. You own it.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
you won, bro. This is my opinion.
Yeah. You
This
don't
is my
have to go
opinion.
after absolutely everything in there so that you can say, oh, I've got, 1,000 units. Because I can tell you, from the apartment side, um, yes, you have more doors at an apartment complex. There's an economies of scale of every toilet's going to be the same, right? Every sink is
Yeah.
going to be the same.
Right,
So
right, right, right.
so when you have to go fix something, you don't have to have, you're not dealing with 100 different houses and ages
Right.
and models and stuff. So you have that advantage, but you've got, for example, the property in Dallas, 184 units. You've got 300 people there that are going to go through your doors at some that's a lot going on. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah, yeah.
necessarily a whole, it's not, doesn't mean it's necessarily easier. And if I was going to scale and go get 10 more properties, it's you've got to think very, very, very different. And then you're going to have to employ more people. You're going to be less connected to what's going on in the day-to-day work. So I mean, there's pluses and minuses, but I think to your point, you don't have to go crazy big. Like what you're doing, do it well.
Yes. Correct. Exactly. Yeah.
Focus on what you're doing and doing it well. And once you get the unit economics really dialed in, then I think it's probably time to scale at that point. But
Right.
to have the mentality that I'm going to go in and I'm going to get 10,000 units in year one, well, number one, even in the apartment space, like really good chance it's not going to happen unless you've got some experience in the
Yeah.
past. But I don't think you, I don't think you can figure it out that fast. So
Right.
that's a really good point there.
Yeah. I mean, I follow Michael Zuber, One Rental at a Time. He's got a really great YouTube channel that I follow, and his philosophy is, and bro, I'm speaking from the single family residential side. You know what I mean? The apartment side is it's a different animal. It's totally different. But I manage stuff like that. When I was a property manager. But anyway, he says, if you're just an average Joe, like get to 4 units, get to 4 doors, and see how you like it. You might not like it. I like my current business partner. He's not a real estate guy. He's made his money in other ways. But at one time, he wanted to try rentals. So he hired me, and I found him a rental. He bought it, did a couple things here and there. After a couple of years, he was like, I really don't like this, and he sold it. He's like, that's not for me. I make my money in other ways. He's more
Yeah.
of a business guy, Um, and that there are those competing philosophies. You got 80 grand. What do? You start a small business, you take that and put as down payment for an SBA loan, and you buy a car wash or a laundromat or a
Yeah.
dry cleaning business or an HVAC business, or do you buy a single family residential, or do you invest as a limited partner? Like you got 80 grand, 85 grand. What do you do? Like, what do you do with that money? Right. And this is not all your money. Like, I'm not talking about your reserves or your savings account or whatever. Just like your 85 grand to invest. What do you do with it? Me, I'm a single family residential guy. So that's what I buy,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah. I think that what you're talking about there, something you also mentioned was you met someone, your partner, he had been in the space, like it's not for me. But what's important about that is um you did not get into the flipping all alone. You have a partner. There's a synergy there, right?
Yes. Yes, bro. And the cool thing I like about my business partner, he's older than me. I'm in my early 40s, he's in his early 50s, right? And I know more about real estate than he does. And he tells me all the time, like, bro, this is your realm.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm financially backing you because I've seen you work. You've helped me buy properties. Um, I've seen you work, and this is what you do. Your track record speaks for itself. So I'm investing with you. But he and I quarterly meet up, and I bounce ideas off him that are just kind of global money ideas that he has just an understanding of because he's a wealthy guy. You know what I mean? And we talk about philosophies of investing, not just necessarily investing in real estate, but just philosophies of investing that could be applied to all forms of investing. So it's really nice to have that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, from the apartment world, I can say that real estate investing is a team sport. Now, whether that's an apartment, there's definitely key roles in there. You've got to have someone with experience. You got to have someone with liquidity, net worth. Someone's got to do asset management. And that might even be the contractors that you're using, right? The people. I
Mm,
mean, you should consider those people as part of your team as well. Like, and you mentioned that the resources you have available to you are the people you've interacted with, and because you've built that relationship with them, it makes it easier to do business with them. So, look around you, like don't try to do everything yourself. It's a team sport, and don't be afraid to ask for help, or like you said, even some advice, and just, bounce some ideas off of other people. And
mm.
that's something that took me a while to learn was I don't want to show any ignorance, and I want to do it all by myself. Well, I think that
Yeah, bro.
slowed me down significantly,
You told me that.
significantly. Yes,
Hmm.
where I'm like, what I really needed to do was say, hey, um, I don't really understand this, or this is what I understand. Can you help me understand it differently? And by the way, I could really use your help right now.
Right.
I'm willing to do the work. I just need some direction. I need some support. I need some guidance.
I remember we used to go to Samurai Sam's. Remember that place?
Yes.
So we were at Samurai Sam's, and you were like, bro, I don't know how people do all of these, because we're talking about syndication. And this was years ago. And you were like, bro, I don't know how people do this all by themselves. Because you were just getting started in it. You know what I mean? And you were like, I'm trying to do all this. And you're like, this is impossible to do it all by yourself. And I remember you said something, you were like, the the syndicators that are really doing it big, really doing it right. On the surface, there might be somebody's face that you see, but there's a team behind them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is definitely team sport. Anthony, we're getting towards the end of our time together. One last thing I wanted to ask you about, if you don't mind hanging out in this space while we're on the topic of mindsets, where we kind of hung out a lot today. And you'd mentioned this to me. You and I, we haven't had a chance to really talk through this a whole lot, but affirmations.
Oh,
You
yeah.
mentioned
Yeah.
that you've been doing some affirmations.
Yeah.
Do you mind sharing with us, how you got started in affirmations, and maybe an example that,
Sure.
if either it's something you use, but something maybe the myself or the listeners could start implementing into their daily lives?
for sure, man. Um, well, anywhere you're deficient, that you first you got to acknowledge that you're deficient, right? That takes not a lot of people are gonna, yeah, I'm deficient here. So find a deficiency or an area where you're like, you know what, I could and should be better here. And I write I am statements, right? Um, so if I need to work on patience,
Hmm.
I am a patient and fair businessman or whatever it is. I'm a patient and fair father. I'm a patient and fair husband, whatever it is, right? Um, and then write it down or type it, whatever you want to do, and put it. I use my bathroom mirror. I put it on my bathroom mirror, and I look at it. I look at it every day, and I read it. I read it out loud. Sometimes you can even write it. Some people write them. Um, but Steven, if I can be completely honest with you, bro, like, man, I kind of like in the beginning, I was way more diligent about that, right? I was way more diligent about that because I was really trying to get somewhere, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Like, don't get me wrong, I still have goals now, but it's pretty good right now, like I'm not complacent. I still do marketing and I'm still working real hard. But gosh, man, there was a time, bro, where I would go into my bathroom at like 10:30 at night. Everyone is asleep. And I would keep a clipboard and a piece of paper on the clipboard in my bathroom
Hmm.
and a pen. The whole house is asleep. I would go into my bathroom and write out my affirmations 15 times a night, bro.
That's awesome.
Because I was coming from such a place. I was coming from like, my parents were never homeowners. You know what I mean? Like, I was coming from such a place where it was like so different. Like, I live a lifestyle that is so different than how I was raised. You know what I mean? So like I really had to do a lot of work to like alter myself to change into something else. And you have to. The basis of all programming is repetition.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So let me summarize this and say this back to you. You mentioned find an area you're deficient in. I'm going to add or a place you want to go, place you want to be, a
Yeah,
person you want to become, right?
yeah,
So, and if it's a person you want to become, clearly you're not that person, right? So you have to accept I am deficient or I'm not that person, but I want to become that person. And then you start telling yourself, you're going to write it down, you're going to put it someplace where you can see it, or like you were doing your practicing at night, you're going to say, I am this, I am that. Um, and I can tell you, so I used to do affirmations with my son on the way to school, and I had printed them
mm,
out. It was like, I am kind, I am friend, I'm a good friend, things like that. And so they had to do a project at school where they wrote like, who am I? And it was, I am a good friend. My son wrote this out. It was like the same affirmations that we did years
that's
ago.
awesome.
And so we've actually got it on his bathroom mirror, right? So it's like, I am a good friend, I am patient, I am honest, and that was really cool, right? So does it work? Yes, it does. But to summarize that, you're basically telling yourself that because I can tell you when I first got into the real estate investing syndication area, I remember showing up at my first event. And there was a networking event and I didn't go. I was too scared to go because I was telling myself I didn't belong. I don't belong
One of
here.
the times you went out of state.
It was one of the times I went out of state for a
Okay.
networking event. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I actually so the networking event the night before I didn't go to. I went to the main event, but there was like dinner
Yeah,
before and I was like, man, like I'm new, I don't belong here, like no one's gonna accept me. But that was really a story I was telling myself because when I walked in the doors, that's how most people were. Like most people were that same,
sure.
like I'm new, I don't belong here, like,
Right.
how can I add value? So we spent a lot of time like looking at ourselves and worrying about what other people are going to think. Well, basically, that's how what everybody else is doing the same thing, right?
For sure.
So work on your mindset and I'm big into Formula One and I saw something posted the other day about Formula One. I was watching a video and somebody quoted, the mind is the athlete, the body is the means. So
Dang,
which really kind
dang,
of blew
that's
my mind.
good.
Yeah, I love it because and that's the reality of it. You do all of your decisions, all of your actions are here. The rest of it you just basically have to tell your body to do. Like
Yeah.
that's how the whole thing works. So uh
Yeesh.
I love what you're saying there about affirmations, and it's definitely something I'm going to add into my routine for what my aspirations are and what my goals are. And I've got a few things up on my wall here. I'm going to add that. So I really appreciate that advice. Anthony, I really appreciate your time and all of your
Yeah,
insights today. I could speak with you for hours.
we've
And
done that.
I'm sure people would love to listen to some of your other stories and experience. Any parting words before we leave?
Um, yeah, yeah, I guess. When you first uh proposed this conversation, um, I was thinking about what am I gonna say? Like what's the most important thing? Um, if you're going to um leave your secure job, right? If you're gonna leave your W-2, just know that the first day after you leave it, you are working. Like it is go time. It is not like, no boss on my back. No, it should feel like more pressure.
Yeah,
It should feel like people say, I want to leave my W-2 because I've got all this pressure from the higher ups. You're going to leave your W-2 and it should feel like more pressure. You should be, in the beginning, you should be more stressed out.
I think
That's
that's
my
fair.
parting words.
I think that's fair. So it's not trying to talk anybody out of it, but just um it is, yeah, don't plan on getting up late and going to, being on vacation all the time, because it's not gonna happen. You're gonna work
Oh,
hard, 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 hard.
yeah.
Anthony, if anybody wants to get a hold of you, how can they reach out to you? How can they get a hold of you?
I'm on Instagram, A Bishop 559.
A
Uh,
Bishop 559 on Instagram. If you're in California, in the Central Valley area, look up Anthony. He's a rock star. He's awesome. I have
Thanks.
bought and sold multiple properties with
Yeah, we've
Anthony.
done 4 or 5 deals, and you referred me stuff too.
Yeah, he's fantastic. And here's the best thing you can do is just listen to him. That's what I've done, is I just listen to him. And he says,
Thank you,
just
bro.
listen to me, because this is what he does all day long. He's really, really, really good at it. So everybody, thanks for tuning in. Remember, for more tips, more information, please follow us. And you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. And at some point we'll probably even get on TikTok too. Anyways, I appreciate you hanging out, Anthony. And for all the listeners, we will talk to you soon.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Thanks for tuning in to the Stephen Lee Thomas Show today. And if you found value in today's episode, then I have a favor to ask you. Please share it with friends, family, and anyone who might benefit from the insights we shared today. Also, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review if you enjoyed the show. And if you aren't already part of our school community, then head on over to school.com/multifamily mastery hub and join today. And again, thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to connecting with you in our school community.